And welcome back. Astro Self Care Sunday. My name is Kenya. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, well, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell, make sure you like all the things. Got to say all that at the beginning. Astro Self Care Sunday. And the topic today, don't just survive, thrive. Talking about the second house. So, since we're in Taurus season, I decided the way I'm doing each season is to talk all things that season. And so I didn't post a new video last Sunday because I wanted you to take the time and go to my playlist, my Astro Self Care Sunday playlist, and look up Taurus and rewatch that. Okay, now listen, you need to go and watch that because I got an idea of what to do with that list of videos that I don't know how many of them are going to remain public. So go watch it if you haven't. If you're curious to better understand Taurus and what energy that is, it'll be very helpful for you so you can understand how Taurus is operating in your life. We're going to talk about the second house because Taurus is associated with the second house. Okay. I don't want to say rules, but second house is Taurus energy. Okay, naturally. But in your chart, you may have Taurus somewhere else. Like for me, my Taurus actually sits in the 11th house because I'm a Cancer rising. So anyone who is a Cancer rising, 11th house is going to be where Taurus sits for you. So you got to know your time of birth so that you know your rising, so that you then know where your life, where Taurus energy shows up. Okay. But naturally, the second house is Taurian energy. And remember, Taurus is the I have. Okay. So we're going to really dig into this. And I made this don't just survive, thrive, because Taurian energy is very, very interested in your survival. And so I want you to learn and think about ways you can thrive. And so being in the higher frequency of Taurus energy or of that second house energy is where we get our thrive elements. But before we go there, I just have a couple of announcements that I want to make sure y'all are tapped into. First is if you're watching this in live time, if you're watching this right when it dropped because you got your bell clicked to be notified when I drop a video, that means you're watching this on a Sunday. Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Yes, May 5th. I'm not doing a Cinco de Mayo thing, but I am doing an event called I Choose Me. And I would absolutely love for you to come to this free virtual conversation, intimate conversation. If you go to the link that's scrolling down here, that has everything. Okay, it has everything on it. Also, though, if you go to findingyourvoiceafter40.com, you'll see it there as well. You do need to sign up so that you get your Zoom link because I'm not doing it just on YouTube and stuff, right? I'm doing it for those people who have expressed interest for it. And I am going to talk, it's called I Choose Me, My Breakthrough Story and Your Path to Transformation. And without me going into great detail, again, if you go to the link, you'll see kind of the details, but I'm going to be sharing more about my breakdowns, some vulnerable things that I haven't really shared publicly, how I've gone from singing in the shower to hitting the Billboard charts. Yes, I made the Billboard charts because this also, if you look at this channel, there's a lot of music. From getting divorced from a 21-year marriage to partnering and finding amazing love after the age of 50. Yes, to going from the lowest income I'd ever made when I got that divorce to now being able to really have a foundation and sitting at six figures and really taking good care of myself. All of those things required some serious break aparts and breakdowns and loss. I'm a Scorpio. Pluto, right? Um, And so I'm going to tell more of how I had those breakthroughs and provide strategic steps. There's three major steps, one kind of bonus step, but three major steps that if you take, you too will have those experiences. And I believe this and I know this as a coach working with clients who have their breakthroughs, my own lived experiences. But if you don't do these three things, your pathway to transformation, not that it won't happen, obviously, but I think you may spend more time on the hamster wheel. Rather, if you do these three things that I'm going to discuss, I think it really puts you in the position to really have probably more abundance than you even planned for. Because I know when I've worked with clients, I see their abundance way past what we really thought was possible. And same in my own life. So make sure you join me. Again, if you go to findingyourvoiceafter40.com, you'll see it there. Or you can go to this link that's scrolling, the link tree, y'all. That's where you can find everything. Okay. So I'd love to see you Monday night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, as I have an intimate conversation. This will be a small group, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to build community. All right. Astrology. I have some new astrology services that I'm so excited about. They launched May 1st. I have been hinting that prices were going to be changing and things were going to be changing. And so it is launched. Again, if you go to this link tree, you're going to see in the link tree, you're going to see a button that says new astrology services interest form. So this is the thing, because I'm early launching these new astrology services, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. I want to just make sure that I kind of vet and go through a little bit of a process before you just, sign up per se, right? And I just want to also get a better idea of what people are interested in. Even if you don't decide to actually book the session, it's a way for me to better understand, oh, we got a lot of interest for this astrology service. We got no interest for this astrology service. So even if you don't want to book, I would love for you to, it takes maybe a minute and 3 seconds, maybe to complete. I don't know if it even takes that long. Just for you to just check off what services you may be interested in. And that way I better understand. And obviously I'll follow up just in case, in fact, you do definitely want to go ahead and book that service. So let me tell you what these new services are. I'm so excited about. All right. So I will continue to do my astrology guidance readings. Okay. That's what I've been doing for the past, few years now. I call it guidance readings because it's more than us just talking through your chart. It's really more like a coaching guidance session while understanding your chart. So that's still around. People are booking those more and more. I know because we've got some big shifts that are just naturally happening. And I know more and more people are trying to figure out who they are. So that's definitely still around. The price got up just a few dollars. Actually, I was going to up it a lot more, but it's just up, honestly, like, was it $14 higher? So you can still book that. If you want a little bit of an upgrade on that, there's an option now when you book the session. You can pay extra $25 and you'll get a recording of the session as well as a digital blueprint summary, meaning what were the top three and the major highlights and, soul care, things that you should consider. So that's an extra $25 if you want that. So that's still there. If you are trying to save a little bit of coin, okay, a little bit of coin, don't want to do a live recording or live reading, but would like to get a summary of your chart and what your chart is about, I'm also added that now. So basically by doing that, if you were to pick that service, I have to ask a couple intake questions just so that I can do your summary, and I will do a video like you see me here, and you'll also get a digital blueprint summary of the highlights of your chart. Okay, so that's a new service. Yay! So that's basically like, I don't know what I called it. I think I called it a recorded astrology summary with a digital blueprint. So that is the most economical way. I am doing more and more with ancestral healing, which I am loving. We did our second ancestral healing retreat, day retreat, virtual retreat. It was beautiful. It was amazing, and it was intimate, and it was heavy at times, but light at other times. It was just really good. And in that ancestral retreat, one of the things I do is I talk about how astrology relates to being better able to understand the ancestral generational patterns that one are obvious to you, but that two are not so obvious and may be kind of secretive in the family. And then those that you may just be oblivious to, but are paying kind of the consequence of that. So I now have an astro and ancestral reading, which I'm super excited to do. That is an extended reading. My readings are typically 60 minutes. This is a 90-minute session. It will include us really doing kind of a basic understanding of your chart, but looking really specifically what your soul has come here to really shift and what you need to be paying attention to karmically, the things that the generations and the ancestors are really wanting to shift and make different and clear. Super excited about that. So that is a new offering. So you can put that on the interest form, and I'll follow up with you on that if that's one that you want to do. The other one that we have added is our Astro Self Care Healing Experience and Reading. And so basically, with that, more than just the reading, we'll do a guided meditation together. We're going to do a little bit of journaling and journal prompts for you, just so that you can process a little bit more what your chart's trying to say to you. We'll have sound bath available for you. We'll pull an oracle card and talk a little bit more about intuitive guidance and how to start to really trust your intuition, and some practical strategies and practical skills and rituals you can do to practice tapping into your intuition. So it's a whole experience. It's like your mini one-on-one astrology self-care experience. So that's the doozy of them. Okay. That's not the doozy, but that's one of the bigger ones and again, I'm really excited about doing that. We'll also include some of the ancestral parts of that as well. And so that one is at 90 minutes, but that may go a little bit more than 90 minutes. Um, and then I'm super excited about this Astro Scholar. Now, this is the thing about Astro Scholar. Astro Scholar is not about so much getting kind of the guidance and the reading. Is to help you learn astrology better and the basics of astrology. Now, I've done astrology courses before and workshops before to teach astrology. And I probably will do that at some time again. But in the meantime, those of you who really have been tapping into these videos, and yes, you're trying to learn more about your own chart, but you also are looking at your mother's chart and your boyfriend's chart and your girlfriend's chart and everybody's chart, and you're trying to understand, but I think in this house and then this aspect and what's a square and then why did it say this and all the things, right? So I've decided to create Astro Scholar, and Astro Scholar is where we would meet one-on-one. It is 6-session package basically, where we would meet one-on-one for 6 times for you to, and I've kind of broken it down so that we're learning it. The other really good thing about Astro Scholar is that whoever signs up for Astro Scholar and is in that, and I can't take a whole bunch of Astro Scholars because then I'll be, because it's like taking independent study for astrology. But those who do take, and in my head, I'm saying I can easily probably take up to 10 Astro Scholars. But what would happen is we would have monthly group Astro Scholar sessions. So all those who are currently or who have in the past study the Astro Scholar, if you have completed your 6 sessions, just to stay in community with others who are really serious about learning more about astrology, we would meet monthly so that we can do Q&As and just dig in more in community. And I find that when you learn astrology in community, oh my God, it really lights up. I think it's an important part of learning it, yes, one-on-one, but also learning it in community. It really pulls. So that's the other Astro Scholar. Okay. And so that's probably that's the bigger investment is to do that one, because you're actually learning more about it. But I'm super excited about these sessions and these editions and how we're growing astrology. There's also another program that my partner, he's a spiritual coach, a certified spiritual coach, and he does a program called Beyond Belief Faith Reimagined. That's a 4-session spiritual coaching. But this is for those of you who really want to deepen your spiritual life and really want to deepen your practice and want to be able to integrate it more in your day-to-day living and not feel like you have to do what you always did when you were little, and really trying to learn more about yourself at this point. Um, so that's also an option on the interest form, because if you do that, you'll get a bonus astrology reading session thrown in there. So it's kind of like a 5 for 4 or whatever. You get 4 sessions with him, 1 session with me, but you're only paying the price of his coaching package. So, whew, I took up all our time, y'all, talking about the services, but this is important. And this is the space. Obviously, I'm curating this space so that people not only learn the topic, but learn how you can continue beyond YouTube, beyond free 99. Okay. Because to really, really get astrology, it is an investment. To really, really understand yourself, it is an investment. Okay. If you're only learning about yourself from free 99, don't be surprised if quality of life is more free 99 quality. Okay. I'm just saying. There comes a time where we have to get support, where we have to invest in ourselves. Now, how we invest, when we invest, how much we invest, I mean, that's variable, right? But there's nothing that I talk about, nothing that I talk about that I haven't myself paid my money to have somebody else pour into me and teach me and coach me and guide me. Okay, so I am not the coach that just came out here and just coaches people because she feels it in her spirit. I do that, but I also go and I get taught and I get mentored and I get coached and I have other people pour into me and I study and I buy things to help me better understand. And I do free 99 here and there, of course. Yes, of course I do. But I use my discernment as to what I do need to actually invest more. And astrology is something that I've invested pretty heavily in, financially and time wise. And that's because I love it so much and I want to be able to give it to you in a really beautiful way. So, those are the new services. Make sure you go to this link here because that is where you're going to find the interest form. And I think, yeah, by the time this gets out, we should also have the interest form available at my website, which is findingyourvoiceafter40.com. Okay. All right. Second house. Don't just survive, thrive. So let's talk about the second house. Y'all know I got my notes, so I got to pull up my notes. Taurus energy is one of the energies, and I say this in my Taurus video, that I really appreciate. And I love my Taurus people because they are fixed earth, meaning they some stable people. They are stable. They are working things out to make sure that they have what they need to have so that they can be as stable as possible. And the more stability, then the more space often, the more groundedness, the more space often that you have to do more and to have more abundance, okay? And to live fruitfully, right? Taurus is also Scorpio's sister sign, right? And I'm a Scorpio, so they my sisters and brothers. But I really, really appreciate Taurus energy. And so I want you to be able to not just think about, because one of the lower frequency aspects of Taurus is that it can get complacent and it can get caught in survival mode because it wants to make sure it has everything. And it can be afraid sometimes to push itself to do a little bit more because then the stability may be off. And so the thrive part of Taurus is the space where I want to help you get to. I want to help you see kind of the more empowered side. But first, I just want to give you a little bit more education about it. So again, second house is related to all of those things I just said. Okay. So the stability that I have, the resources, finances, assets, but self worth, of course, me, the counselor, right? Wants you to, and the Scorpio wants you to really think about the self worth piece, in addition to the material aspects that the second house is attempting to talk about. So obviously, the opposite house of the second house is the eighth house, which is that eighth house of Scorpio, that eighth house that gets kind of wait till we get to the eighth house. That sometimes is a little challenging to fully understand because it incorporates so many things. Well, this is the one thing the way you can kind of remember second, eighth house and kind of how they're trying to play with each other or kind of oppose or balance even. They kind of they oppose but also balance. Second house is about how I have my resources based on me, how I built these resources so that I have, because I've done it based on my own worth and my own understanding and valuing of that. Okay. So that, whereas the eighth house is how do we create these resources? How do we consider all the other aspects of resources together? How do we work together to have the resources? But second house is how do I make things happen for myself to create the stability so that I can survive? That is like the belly of the second house. So whatever you have in the second house, that is whatever planets, whatever sign, it is your survival house. It is the house that, so I'm going to use myself as an example so you can see this. So anybody that is a Cancer rising, that means Leo is sitting in your second house. So what that means is for my survival, for my self-worth, for my ability to create resources that will allow me to feel a sense of security and stability, I am going to be using Leo-like energy to make that happen. What is Leo? Create. What am I doing right now? What do I do every whatever? Create. Self-expression. What is on Monday night, tomorrow night? If you're watching this lifetime, I choose me. I'm going to self-express and talk about myself so that you hopefully will get inspired to make your shifts. I'm not talking about myself to just sit in the land of myself, although some people will appear that that's what it is. But that's not the high frequency of Leo. Is no use in me talking about myself and just talking about myself if the whole point of it isn't to inspire you to do something in your life. And so when I do those Leo types things, those more playful things, those creative things, when I create, that is how I feel my sense of security and stability. You see how that works? So if you have Pisces there, Pisces is our watery, it's our creative, it's our intuitive, it's our spiritual, it's our healing. So whenever I see people who have Pisces in that second house, okay, that means Aquarius risings. You are going to feel your most stable, your most valuable, your worth most integral when you are doing those types of things, when your resources, when the way you're making your money, the way you are creating assets is through healing, is through creating, is through some type of spiritual space. That's probably what's going to give you the most stability. So you see how this works. Gemini's second house. That would be my Taurus risings. All right. So speaking, writing, thinking, teaching, something in that space, that is going to be a big part of how you feel your worth, your stability, and your survival. And to thrive, because I wanted to talk about how do we thrive then knowing all of this? The thriving then is getting on the high empowered frequency of whatever sign is there. The other thing is you've got to look at what planets sit there. So if I have my son there, if my son is sitting in that second house, my identity and how I understand myself to be and how my persona and my personality shine, I'm going to probably shine unless there's some interesting aspects going to that sun, but shine in my way of creating value and stability in my life. And if I'm shining, I'm thriving, right? You see that now? So you want to be looking at, let's say I have Mercury there. I'm just making up stuff, guys. So if I have Mercury in my second house, then how I think, how I communicate, very similar to what I just said about Gemini, because Mercury rules Gemini. How I'm of service in what the things that I do. Think about Virgo kind of stuff. That's how I will thrive in that energy. So a long story kind of short with this, and I have a couple more things I'm going to say about the second house, then we're going to wrap it up. I think that when you are feeling like you're in a rut and you're feeling like you are in survival mode and you're not taking the risks, you're not allowing yourself to get outside of the box. I gotta drink some water because I can feel my throat wanting to. Hmm. You're feeling stuck. You're feeling like life is not moving. I say go look at that second house. Now, there's every house is going to be contributing to that stuck feeling, okay? Because everything is working together. But I'm always very curious to hear about second house. When a person is telling me that they're not feeling as confident, or they don't understand, they're not really seeing their worthiness maybe at the workplace or in a relationship. I'm looking at obviously first house stuff and everything, but I'm really going to also look at the second house because this is how, especially if it's career related, because this is going to tell me more how you understand your worth and how you understand how you can make a means for yourself. Are you in scarcity mode and you're just kind of in the survival, and so you're kind of stuck, and so you stay complacent in spaces that you've outgrown, but you're not willing to let that go? I think people who have second house moon, because the moon is how we feel. It's how it's so much about our emotions and our body and so forth. That can be, a lot of then what you do is going to be dependent on, like, well, am I really, I got Maslow theory all up in here. I got to survive. Do I have food? You got to be careful because, again, to thrive, we may have to do things at whatever the high frequency is of whatever sign is there and whatever planet is there to help us out. Okay. Pretty deep stuff. Some other things just to remember about the second house. It's also, it's how we're making a living, because like I was just saying, what type of work you're doing, but also your value to society. And so, I think it's important, again, when you're starting to feel stuck, and let's say maybe you have a great job and you're making really good money, but you still feel like you're in survival mode, even there, just because you're not feeling imaginative. Well, think about what acts of service are you doing? How is your value of what you do contributing to society and where society is at? Okay, so that's another really important part of the second house. Second house is also, though, about skills and talents that need to be developed, because you have to remember Taurus is that energy, again, that's stable, it's patient, it can take its time. So it's a great, whatever's going on in our second house, it's give it time, give it space, be patient with it, allow development. It's earth. You are toiling the soil, right? And so you can look at that area of your life to better also understand skills that would really, really benefit from some development and some time there. Okay. And not these just quick kind of maybe fixes that we always want to have, especially nowadays with everything going on. Um, Also, these are, your second house is very tied to your personal values and what it is that you actually value based on your value system. So, one of the things I'm going to talk about this at my I Choose Me event is this idea of values and what values we take as ours versus the values we've been conditioned to take from our parents, from our friends, from extended family, from teachers. Um, we have been conditioned to value money a certain kind of way, and therefore we will allow ourselves to stay in very survival mode, complacent spaces so that we can feel safe. But I challenge you to start really rethinking, especially the day and age we're in right now, really rethinking about the material things and how you are materially having things happen versus how you are of value to society, how you are of value to your own self care. Do you need all the things to feel valuable? It's not to say to stop trying to make your money, do what you got to do, whatever, but do you need more things? Or can that money be used to be of service? Can it be used for you to take deeper care of yourself? Right? Oh, yeah, it gets deep. You didn't know the second house was, but that's how we get into thrive. And then, some other things just to be thinking about because second house is very much about our personal security. Listen, it's about our personal security. So if you got Chiron there, if you've got Pluto there, if you've got Mars there, like, and I'm talking about planets that and Saturn there, planets there that really push us to really work for our development, work for that. Be patient with yourself because it's going to feel very personal. Your money and your worth, all that's very personal, right? So, lastly, that second house can tell you a lot about how you handle your money, how you value your own skills based on kind of your financial outcomes or not. Any kind of internal resources you may have for yourself, but it can go even deeper than just the material. And this is my take home for our self care. It's also very much tied to our psychological, emotional, and spiritual security. So this is why I don't want you to just look at the second house as a means of how you survive. Because we are looking at our self-worth more than the car that we drive, more than the house that we have, more than the clothes that we wear. Our self-worth is also why we even came here, what experience we even came here to have. We came here for our human experience. We are also a soul. And so doing those things that are going to allow you not only to be stable with your home and your survival, but also stable in your mental, stable in your spiritual. So that's how we thrive, right? That's how we thrive is when we also attend to those parts of our needs, not just our material needs. And the second house is trying to teach us all that. So again, if this resonated for you, first of all, please be a subscriber. So just make sure you subscribe right now. If this resonated with you, please share. If you know another Taurian, share it because they really are about everything I just said. Like this post, but more than it all, I would love for you to book one of our services, one of our readings, so that you can start again, not just watching astrology on social media, but using it as a tool in your life. That is what I do with my clients. I help them look at the astrology and use it as a tool to better understand the radar of what's happening so that you can lessen the stress, lessen the anxiety, lessen all the noise that's currently happening. Because if they say it's going to be a level 3 hurricane, whew, I heard another astrologer say this as an example. And I was like, this is a really good example. If I am watching the news and I hear and I watch and I read or whatever that this is coming, okay, well, I don't know. I may need to evacuate. If I'm not going to evacuate, I need to make sure that I have water and I have backup battery and I have all these different things, right? So when the storm comes, I'm not loving the storm, but I'm prepared. I put things in place and I'm navigating it with a little less wah because it might be a little wah because it's hurricane, but if I prepare myself, and that's what happens when you hear about people who stay in the same city with hurricanes, they're like, well, we're prepared and we're just preparing ourselves. And whereas if you haven't done nothing, you ain't prepared for nothing. You didn't even know the hurricane was coming. Woo, it's a windy day. Woo, I heard this astrologer say this. I was cracking up. Woo, Stephanie Powers, she was talking about this. Woo, it's pretty windy today. And then now it's like, wait a minute, I don't got no power. Oh my God, I don't have no. Astrology is a tool. And yes, you may survive it and that's fine. You made it through the hurricane, but imagine if you had had a backup battery. Imagine if you had prepared food in a certain way where you knew and you had let everybody know what was going on. Suppose then, right? There's a difference. And so astrology is just one of many types of tools, but is one really, really wonderful tool that I love to help people and teach people about so that when the hurricanes come, but also when the beautiful sunny days come, you will be able to put it all in perspective and thrive, right? So please, I'd love for you to fill out that free interest form so I get a better gauge on what you're interested in. When you fill out that form, you will be contacted within 24 to 48 hours, offering you to actually book that service if that's something that you're interested in doing, or at least book a free discovery call to talk about it, especially if you click multiple services you're interested in. So I can help you kind of figure that out. So let's stay in community that way. And then if you want to just get to know a little more about my backstory, a little bit more how I even handled my hurricanes, because and those 3 really, really important steps with a bonus one of what how you can have your breakthroughs and transformations, then join me. Join me on the I Choose Me intimate conversation virtual event. All of that can be found at findingyourvoiceafter40.com or this linktr.ee/Kenya MJ Music. I'll also have this in the description. So thank you all. We went a little bit longer than 30 minutes, but I hope this was informative and we'll be back. Oh, what's my topic for next Sunday? Because we'll still be, oh, it's Mother's Day. That's right. All right. So we're going to talk about mamahood. Mommyhood. The moon is what's associated with the mothers. And understand this, the moon is associated with mothers. When does Mother's Day happen? In Taurus season. What about the moon in Taurus? Oh, it's only exalted in Taurus. You can't make this up. So we'll have to talk about that. So as we celebrate, at least in the US, the Mother's Day. But I just love that. Yeah, that'll be our topic. You all be well. Make sure you stay in touch. Take very good care of yourselves. And I'll see you next week or sooner, actually, hopefully. Take care. Bye.